Obrecht, Spinelli, and James all throw hatchets at the range, and James is particularly skilled. Spinelli texts Lulu and asks her to meet him at the hatchet range because it is important. As James chucks hatchets, Obrecht tells Spinelli how much the boy resembles Nathan. She realizes she's been gone too long and wonders why no one warned her how out of control Willow had become. Willow is going through a difficult moment, according to Spinelli, but Obrecht believes she is falling downward. Willow, according to Obrecht, is no weakling, and she is realizing her untapped potential, which is not always for the best. Did Jason see Britt? At the Metro Court pool, Rocco waits for Carly and Jason. Once alone, Jason tells his friend that Rocco asked him about Britt the other day, which could explain why he thought he saw her. He tells her about seeing a woman that resembled Britt in Paris, but Carly suggests that he may have merely mistaken her for her and was exhausted. She claims Britt is no longer alive, but Jason reminds her that he was as well. Carly questions why Rocco is asking about Britt, and Jason fills her in on the file drama and his discovery that Britt gave birth to him after stealing Lulu and Dante's embryos. Carly is aware that he had affections for Britt, but his views on the doctor differ from those of the majority. She cannot judge Britt, however, because she died saving Joss. Jason inquires, what if she didn't? Meanwhile, Rocco discovers Lulu hanging out by the pool and scolds his mother for checking on him, pleading with her to give him some privacy. Lulu receives disturbing news back at the range. Obrecht and James have left, and Lulu enters to meet Spinelli. He alerts her about Obrecht's return to town, so she contacts Dante and begs him to meet her at the range because it is about Rocco. Turner suspects Sonny. At the station, Dante discusses Marco with Sonny in the interrogation room, but Sonny refuses to talk about it with his son. Dante simply wants him to listen. He has 2 grandsons who look up to him and aspire to be like him, so keep them in mind. Turner asks Sidwell in the squad room if there is any reason to believe Marco was involved in foul play. Sidwell adds that he has yet to get assurance that his son is safe. Turner summons Sonny to confront Sidwell, who claims his son has been kidnapped, and is attempting to coerce him into compliance. He can't go into more detail since it could be dangerous to his son's health. Marco's hero Lucas beats on a warehouse door before admitting himself in with the key he was given, and discovers Marco unconscious in a chair. Marco arrives and inquires as to what took Lucas so long. Lucas tells how he discovered him, and due to Sam's guidance, he picks the lock on Marco's shackles. Marco stands up, but he is weak and collapses into Lucas' arms. He addresses him as his hero and they kiss. Marco claims they treated him well until he attempted to go, but Lucas warns him not to make excuses for Sonny and Jason. He wants him checked out at the hospital, but Marco says he has to do something first. Marco tells a story back at the station. Dante receives Lulu's call. Marco walks in and embraces his father. Turner claims they heard he was the victim of foul play, and wants to know what happened based on his appearance. Marco claims it's embarrassing, but he was on his way to his mother's memorial. He stopped for fresh air since he was emotional, got lost on a trail while walking, and didn't have cell service. Marco claims he was not paying attention and fell down a gully, destroying his phone in the process. He eventually made his way back to his automobile, which had a flat. He fell asleep in his automobile but ultimately drove back to Port Charles after changing the tire. He walks away after saying he'll gladly sign a statement acknowledging everything. Sidwell and Turner both stare at Sonny, who shakes his head. Lucas and Carly have drama at the pool. Lucas enters and informs Carly and Jason that Marco is alive, and he requires Carly's assistance since she owes him a favor. Lucas and Carly leave, and Rocco informs Jason that he met with Obrecht and discovered there is much more to Britt than he has been told. Carly invites Lucas into Marco's room, and Lucas explains that Marco instructed him to wait here for him. He claims Marco was chained to a chair and beaten unconscious. If he had died, he would have ensured that Jason and Sonny spent the remainder of their lives in prison. Carly warns him that Sidwell is a dangerous man, and Marco understands and works for him. As a result, Sidwell bears responsibility for Marco's fate. Lucas claims they both know who took Marco. Carly does not want to fight him, but he has only recently met Marco and is overly trusting. He praises her for allowing him inside Marco's room, but warns her not to defend Jason or Sonny to him again. Carly leaves him. Nina accuses Drew of what? Nina confronts Drew about Sasha's decision to leave Port Charles permanently with her baby. Drew explains Willow didn't tell him, but he believes she left because Michael was trying to control her. Nina claims this is not the case, and Michael assisted her in fleeing town because Daisy was being targeted. Drew feels this is someone conveying a message to Sunny, and Nina responds that some people believe this but not her. What if it was someone who knows their way around the estate, how to evade the cameras, and wants to frighten Michael and Sasha, someone like himself? Drew claims he wants Willow to have her children back, but he would never abuse a newborn. He assumes this is an enemy of Sunny's, and reminds her that she gave an interview about how horrible Sunny is. Nina claims that whoever did this to Daisy is still out there and capable of torturing an infant. Nina storms out. Spinelli appears later to serve as an intermediary for Maxie, who is still out of town. He says they both hope the best for him and Willow, as well as Michael and the children. He has wedding plans to discuss. Dante returns to the hatchet range, surprised that Lulu summoned him, and begins throwing axes while his father is interrogated. Lulu claims it's just to take her mind off the fact that Obrecht is in town. They consider locating Rocco and telling him the truth about Obrecht, as well as the need of staying away from her. Lulu causes a scene back at the pool. Jason tells Rocco that he had no idea Obrecht was in Port Charles. Rocco admits to emailing her, and she came to town to visit him. Rocco recalls what Obrecht told him, and he believes Britt may have been a better person than his parents realize. Obrecht appears unexpectedly, spots Rocco and Jason, and mumbles to herself, "Her Morgan, we meet again." Obrecht approaches them and expresses her pleasure to see Rocco again. She then informs Jason that for a man considered dead, he looks good, which would please her Britta. Obrecht requests Rocco set her up with a lounge chair. Carly returns and informs Jason that Lucas is upset with him and Sunny, and she does not blame him. She notices Obrecht talking with Rocco and remarks, "This can't be a coincidence." Dante and Lulu come and discover Rocco conversing with Obrecht. Dante tells his son to stay away from Obrecht, while Lulu demands that she never see her son again. Obrecht apologizes and expresses regret that they are unable to coexist, particularly as Rocco would not exist without her Britta. Obrecht walks out. Marco returns to Lucas' chamber, where Lucas examines him and tends to his bruises and ribs. Marco requests a shower first, as he has been dreaming about it for the past 24 hours. He dashes off to the bathroom. Turner believes Sidwell must be relieved to have his son home. He thanks Turner for her time and exits. Sunny tells Turner that he is relieved that the matter has been resolved and that he has to leave. Turner interrupts him because she still wants answers. Willow stuns Portia at the hospital. Willow believes Portia is lying about Drew blackmailing her, and Portia is stunned, thinking that if this doesn't faze her, she doesn't know who Willow is anymore. Portia claims Michael has worked hard to recover from his burns, and Drew is attempting to ruin his life by making him appear to be addicted to opiates. That is how he plans to return her children to her. Willow says if that's what it takes, she'll support Drew. Portia reminds her that they signed an oath to help others. Willow claims she can only think about her children right now, which she does not have due to Michael's dirty behavior. She claims that the only person who believes and supports her is Drew, so why should she fight fairly if Michael does not? Portia reminds her that Drew is blackmailing her, but Portia yells that Michael is blackmailing her into leaving Drew, or she will be unable to see her children. Drew is the only person she trusts. She walks out. Nina arrived later, having received Portia's message. Portia says she just had a terrifying conversation with Willow, whom she no longer recognizes. The doctor inquires, "What did Drew do to her?" In the show's last moments, Turner asks Sunny whether option is more likely. Marco goes lost the morning of his mother's memorial, or Sunny steals Marco in vengeance for the Charlie's fire and releases his kid when Sidwell does what he wants. Sunny says he believes what Marco stated happened. She believed they had reached a new understanding following Natalia's death, and that he had a conscience. She now realizes he is as corrupt and soulless as she had previously suspected. Sunny reminds her that if he were soulless, Marco would have died. Sunny walks out. Marco emerges from the shower in his metro courtroom, and Lucas examines him. He admits he was terrified he'd never see him again, that he'd be a victim of Sunny's retaliation for what his father had done. Marco claims he is safe and this is just about them. He kisses Lucas before leading him to the bed. At the pool, Jason informs Carly that Rocco has not only spoken with him about Britt, but has also approached Obrecht. He inquires about Britt's death, and Carly informs him about the hook killer and her death in Obrecht's arms. Jason realizes he needs to speak with Obrecht. Lulu asks Rocco what the woman was saying to him, and thinks Obrecht would come after him. She informs him of the risk Obrecht poses. Rocco says he contacted Obrecht for more information on Britt. He understands why they despise Britt and her mother, but their reasons are not his, and he has no ill will toward them. He storms off. In her office, Portia tells Nina what she informed Willow regarding Drew's blackmail. Nina is shocked, and Portia explains it's a typical reaction, but what she said didn't even bother Willow. Willow returns home to discover Drew conversing with Spinelli about the wedding. Spinelli explains that Maxie asked them to invite Obrecht to the wedding, and Willow is delighted to have her aunt there. Spinelli leaves, and Drew considers Nina's words and accusations about Sasha and Daisy. Drew asks Willow what she did on the 4th of July while he was away. She claims she had a drink with her mother before the fireworks and nearly fell asleep, missing them. Drew appears anxious. Willow and Drew's wedding day approaches in the upcoming episode of General Hospital. Carly asks Sunny if her family is no longer in danger. Kai assures Trina that he will do anything to help them get back to where they were. Nina sobs to Ava at the chapel, saying that things are even worse than she had imagined. Alexis visits Drew's residence and requests a favor. Scout asks Willow in the church's bridal room if she wants to call her mommy. In her office, Portia advises Curtis that if he has an ace in the hole, now is the time to play it. General Hospital spoilers for Thursday, July 24th, state that Scout Kane will ask Willow Tate a mom-related question, while Drew Kane receives a request. Curtis Ashford will also proceed with the treachery plot, so there will be lots of excitement in Port Charles. When Sonny Corinthos tells Carly Spencer on the situation with Jen Sidwell, Carly will inquire whether this means her family is no longer in danger. Of course, Sonny cannot promise anything, especially now that Marco Rios is free. Sidwell complied with Sonny's demands to ensure Marco's safety, but he will undoubtedly retaliate now that he knows his son is fine. Kai Taylor will find Trina Robinson and admit that he would give anything to get them back to where they were. Despite Kai's passionate plea to mend his relationship with Trina, she will be unable to forgive his infidelity. Speaking of betrayals, Curtis will be ready to break Nina Reeves' trust in him. Nina told Curtis about her previous passionate encounters with Drew, and he intends to use that information to his advantage. When Portia Robinson presses Curtis to use whatever ace he has up his sleeve, Curtis will proceed with his plan. Will Curtis be the one to tell Willow what a sleazeball Drew is? Meanwhile, GH teasers indicate Nina will really contemplate coming clean to Willow herself. After telling Ava Jerome that things are much worse than she expected, Nina will insist that she cannot stand by and watch this happen any longer. However, if Curtis beats Nina to the punch, she may miss out on the opportunity to be honest. Whatever happens, Willow appears to be on track to learn about Nina and Drew's steamy sessions by the end of the week. Until then, Alexis Davis will have a favor to ask Drew. That may include preserving Sam McCall's memory despite Willow's new stepmother status, or something along those lines. Willow and Scout will have a poignant talk before their wedding. Scout will question if Willow wants to be referred to as Mom, so Willow may assure Scout that she will never want to replace Sam or take away her position. Finally, General Hospital rumors claim Elizabeth Baldwin is in for a surprise when she runs into Liesl Obrecht, so stay tuned for more updates on their reunion. Scout had always been curious about her surroundings, but recently, her queries had become more specific, and this time, she focused on something Willow hadn't expected. The day had begun regularly enough, with gentle morning light streaming through the Corinthos estate windows and Willow drinking coffee on the patio. But it wasn't long before Scout approached her, eyes wide with concern and attention, and asked a question that stopped Willow in her tracks. "Willow," she asked in a gentle, disarming tone, "can I ask you something weird?" Willow tilted her head gently, delivering a peaceful grin. "Of course, love. You may always ask me anything." Scout paused, fiddling with the hem of her blouse. "Do you think you could ever be like a mother to me?" Willow blinked, her breath seizing in her throat. It wasn't just words. Scout uttered them with an odd blend of innocence and emotional depth, making it evident that she hadn't inquired on a whim. Scout had thought about it. Maybe you dreamed about it. She placed down her coffee and indicated for Scout to sit beside her. The girl did, her eyes optimistic but guarded, as only a youngster coping with adult situations can be. Willow understood what it meant. This wasn't only about her. It was about Scout's loss and what she felt she would never have again. You've already got a mom, Scout, Willow whispered quietly, wrapping her arm over her. And she loved you more than anything. I know, Scout said quietly. But Sam's gone a lot now, and I sometimes feel like I don't fit anywhere. You are always sweet to me. You care. Willow was hit hard. She hadn't expected her simple acts of kindness, brushing Scout's hair behind her ear during story time, making her favorite snacks, or checking in on her when she had nightmares, to resonate so profoundly. Of course they did. Children notice the smallest details, especially if they are missing something. Meanwhile, Curtis was struggling with the consequences of his own treachery. While Willow was dealing with emotional minefields, Curtis was drowning in guilt. Jordan's life had spiraled out of control, and he now faced the repercussions of keeping secrets for too long. Portia's trust had been eroded. His silence regarding the odd interactions with Selena Wu, as well as the silent deals he had made that blurred the line between survival and manipulation, had all come to light in the worst possible way. He'd withheld things from everyone, including Portia and Trina, things that felt justified in the moment. After all, he had persuaded himself he was doing everything he could to protect his family. However, that excuse was no longer valid. Not until the truth had finally broken through the surface. Curtis paced around his apartment, the weight of his decisions settling on him like a thunder cloud. The phone remained idle on the coffee table, a reminder that he hadn't heard from Portia since their disagreement. Trina had just texted one word. Really? That had been enough to bring him down. He considered going to the hospital, catching Portia in between rounds, and possibly begging for an opportunity to explain. But how do you explain to someone that you chose to lie? That you placed your desire for power over those who trusted you the most? Willow remained at the Corinthos estate, struggling to find the perfect words for Scout. This was not an easy question to answer, especially given how much the youngster in front of you had already lost. Drew's incarceration had left a lasting impression on Scout, abandonment masquerading as justice. Sam's unpredictable departures only widened the emotional gap. And now she was looking to Willow for a connection, rather than a replacement. I'm not your mom, Scout, Willow said gently, but that doesn't mean I don't love you, or that I won't always be available to you. Scout's lips quivered slightly. Do you promise? Willow nodded slowly. I do. Promise. And you are always welcome to chat to me about anything, no matter how strange or scary it feels. They hugged firmly, and Scout held on for longer than usual. Willow felt the depth of that embrace. It was the type of hug that said, "Thank you for not leaving." Willow would later bring up the incident with Michael. She needed to process it as well. Michael, always the attentive listener, sat beside her while she repeated every word. She asked if I could be a mom to her, Willow stated quietly. What should I say to that? Michael reached over and grabbed her hand. You stated the correct thing. You did not offer her false hope, but you offered her something real. Love, Willow moaned. But I'm not sure it's enough. It is, Michael replied firmly, because she is discovering that love does not necessarily follow bloodlines or labels. Curtis, meantime, had had enough of the silence. He entered the hospital late in the evening, intending to catch Portia after her shift. He didn't expect the frigid welcome he got. When she saw him down the corridor, she tensed instinctively. Not here, Curtis, she stated without slowing her pace. Portia, please, just give me 2 minutes, he begged, catching up with her. You deserve an explanation. I deserved the truth a long time ago, she quipped. Now I deserve space. Her words hurt, but Curtis wasn't surprised. He had lost the right to ask for her tolerance. I didn't expect it to backfire on you like this, he mumbled almost to himself. She paused. That is the problem. You considered everything but me. There was no yelling. There is no grand explosion. Just calm devastation. The kind that causes permanent damage. Curtis remained there as she went away, the sterile hum of the hospital corridor emphasizing the emptiness he felt within. The treachery was not just about what he did, but also about what he did not do. He had not trusted her. And now he was paying in solitary. Later that night, Willow went to check on Scout. She was already nestled in and reading under her blanket with a lantern. "Are you still up?" Willow smiled softly. Scout looked out, smiled shyly. "Could not sleep. I have too many thoughts. Would you like to talk about them?" Scout scooted over to make room. Willow sat on the edge of the bed, brushing a strand of hair off the girl's brow. Scout muttered, "I was thinking about what you said earlier. About love showing up." Willow grinned. "Yeah, I believe it already happened," Willow said, unsure how to answer. Her eyes misted, and she leaned down to kiss Scout's forehead. "You are incredibly exceptional, Scout. And I'm fortunate to know you." The next several days caused tremors across Port Charles. Everyone was talking about Curtis and Portia's split, and the whispers were louder than ever. Even Sonny had heard, though his attention was divided between his personal instability and attempting to assist Ava in managing her life following yet another blow from Nicholas. Michael ran into Curtis at Kelly's, and despite everything, he gave a simple nod of recognition. "Are you holding up?" Michael asked carefully. Curtis shrugged. "I have made a mess. Nothing new." Michael did not press. Sometimes men simply wanted space to unwind peacefully. Willow received a long note from Sam, apologizing for being so aloof. She stated how much she missed Scout and vowed to be home soon, but she didn't specify a specific date. Willow wished to believe her, but she'd learned not to make promises she couldn't keep, so she focused on what she could control, being present for Scout and anchoring her in a world that frequently moved beneath her feet. Curtis, meantime, began making apologies with both Portia and Trina. He left a passionate note at her dorm, acknowledging his mistakes and begging for a conversation. Not forgiveness, just the opportunity to confront her honestly. He was unsure if she would answer. Willow and Curtis were both at an emotional crossroads. One was making a connection with a child other than her own. The other was attempting to restore what had been shattered by secrecy and pride. Port Charles had always been a place where drama and redemption collided, where families were formed not usually through blood but by choice. And when Scout cuddled beneath the sheets with a grin on her face that night, and Curtis strolled alone by the pier, thinking about the man he wanted to be, it was evident that, while trust might be destroyed, love will always find a way to sneak back in, quietly, patiently, defiantly.